All right, guys, what's going on? Give me a quick sound check, and we'll get started. Let's Make sure that I can actually see the chat. I don't see anything in the chat yet. Let me just refresh. Sound is good. Cool. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, apologies for the last second indecision. So I originally was going to stream at 12:30, and then I don't know. I couldn't really take my eyes off the market. This is like, this is unprecedented. And then decided I would do a recorded, and then figured, fuck it, we'll do the live. I'll record this, obviously. Have my guys chop this up, edit it so there's a shorter version, and then do a stream summary as well, just to get all these points jotted down. So, yeah, a lot of thoughts, a lot of thoughts. Let me just give it another minute, and then we'll get it going. I'm gonna try to, like, I always say this, but I'm gonna try to keep this one shorter. My daughter is an hour and 20 minutes into a nap. Usually have like 2 hours and 15 minutes for these. So if I did a pre-recorded video, it would have been short anyway. Just give it another minute. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully some of you were able to get in on that. I was out to dinner last night with some of my closest friends. Got together. It's rare that we're able to get together, all of us, and came home, saw it, was like, wow, this is insane. Wasn't quite sure whether or not it was legit or not. And I think when I went to bed, it was at $6, and I was like, well, I'll find out in the morning if it's legit. And woke up and it had 3x from there. So anyhow, this before we get started, remember, none of this is financial advice. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. For any of the exchanges that I use and that I recommend, my book list, all of that stuff. I say this in the beginning of every stream. You can find that in the summary below or in the description below. I shared just before I had shared on Twitter that on Femex right now. So I'd shared Femex last week. I talked about they have a competition, and if you're trading actively right now, it just makes sense to trade as part of the competition because you have, you know, the possibility of winning a nice bonus, and you're already trading anyway. And for people that are already trading there, it just makes sense. But another thing to point out is the Trump spot token and the contract is available at Femex. It's also available at Bybit. The benefit of Femex over Bybit right now is that the funding rate is much more positive on Femex. So if you're looking to lock in some kind of spot exposure, whether you deposit your spot to the exchange and you're trying to get out of that, you could go ahead and sell futures against that as well to try to get delta neutral. So basically to get flattened using the futures while you unload your spot. And the funding rate now is paying 1%, which is like, before it was 82 basis points or 86, can't remember. But that is, egregiously high. This just gives you an idea of how many people are trying to long this. So if anyone is there, I would say to take a look at that and see if you could take advantage of that in some way. Anyhow, let's just get right into it. I have a lot of thoughts, right? This was listed last night at 9:44 p.m. My new official Trump meme is here. I understand this is probably received by a lot of people as being, potentially a hack, bullshit, what have you. And I probably, if I looked at this last night, I would have had a tough time buying in, obviously. We've just seen how many times that large accounts have been compromised and, have been used by, bad actors. This is obviously the president of the United States Twitter account, so you would assume that, or rather hope that things are a little bit more locked down on that end, especially since, Elon is basically in the White House now as well. But I would have been skeptical of it early on for sure. And I imagine a lot of people were. So this was posted last night, and price went from 22 cents, so right around, I guess that's right around listing, so on Meteor, all the way up to a high of right around $34. So just absolutely ridiculous. 15,000% in the last 24 hours. The market cap is over $5 billion. And I don't think I remember, I can't recall the last time I saw something on Dex Screener that had liquidity that was around 500 million. Obviously, a lot of this is concentrated in one wallet. So one wallet holds 80% of the supply, which is quite concerning, right? That is quite concerning. So the rest of the market, this was basically a liquidity black hole for the rest of the market. My Athena long, Bonk long, those ideas got their asses kicked. I've since exited those. I think that this is something that is, it's quite alarming. I think there's good things to be taken from it. I think there's bad things to be taken from it. I'll go into that, obviously, but the market got its ass kicked off of this. This basically took interest and capital away from and out of everything. You could see that this against something like the total crypto market cap, from the time of this tweet, I think this took off like, well, we'll see exactly what it took off. So from the time peak to trough, $110 billion in market cap wiped off. And there isn't obviously a one-for-one translation between, capital coming out of one asset and going into another, right? It'll obviously have more pronounced effects on certain assets. And this is more of a reminder of just how liquidity can dry up and the effect that a large crowd has on a small door. But before we get into that, let's just talk about the title of this stream, which is Trump coin the beginning of the end? There's a couple ways to think about this. One, this is publicity, right? This is, there's a lot of conflicting views. If you were on my Twitter page this morning, I was just blasting tweets about this. I think my first one was talking about the timeline being split and, a sixth sense that I think people that have been around for a long time have about how something like this is not often found at the beginning, or is often found, I should say, because crypto market is obviously, it's very young. So to call the top on the market big picture is really, an asinine thing to do. But I think that there is truth to the fact that things like this are found towards temporary interim period tops. So we're not talking about, the top of this market for, years and years, but we're talking about, a top that could last a month, a couple weeks, a couple months. And I think that, again, there's people that are looking at this like, this is a green light, crime is back, quote unquote, and that things are going to just rip up. But I look at it as this is, again, the biggest publicity for crypto you could possibly ask for, right? Who will be the sitting president of the United States has his own meme coin. It's probably the most successful meme coin, right? It's a question of, this is going to benefit crypto, but this will benefit some projects, but it's obviously going to be at the detriment of other projects. I think that, I don't know if decentralization matters much anymore. I think centralized entities will, a lot of centralized entities will benefit. So that whole DeFi ethos, I don't know if that's really necessary in this, with this White House. But this is something that, it's something that pulls in a lot of speculators and creates a ton of mania. It sucked a lot of liquidity out of other projects and into Trump coin. And I think that this will end up extracting a decent amount of value, because I would assume that the wallet that controls, 80% of the supply, the profit that comes out, I don't know if it'll necessarily rotate back into the market. There'll obviously be some degree of like a there's obviously wealth created because people were early to this and made a killing. But it kind of feels like an excitement climax, right? And an excitement climax is kind of like where the idea of, when I talk about a cheer hedge. Cheer hedge is something when, people are celebrating on a trading floor, for example, celebrating positions. Everyone feels inclined to celebrate the market because it feels really safe to, because it feels like any kind of fear you had is completely washed away. You feel completely validated about being in this market and being in positions. So when people start to get really loud and there is that climax, it's often a signal that people are jammed in, right, as much as possible. So if anything, I think that you have to have a really strong reason to be long into the inauguration, and to just hold blindly through. I guess it's the best way to put it. As I said, specifically, this is local top vibes for me, plus or minus a week or two. Again, to reiterate, because I have to say this constantly ad nauseum, this is not me saying that I think that the market is topped. Again, I think that this is, as the best way I could put it, like an excitement climax for the market. And I think you need, for you to be, again, temporary top, for you to be long into the inauguration, you kind of have to expect that Trump is going to exceed the current promises that he already put forth, right? And he's going to have to hit the market with some kind of surprise, because otherwise, I think that a lot of the things that we've seen more recirculated over the last couple of days, I don't know if a lot of people know that the things that were said over the last few days are things that were actually said a while ago. So his, comments about litigation and allowing crypto to flourish and what he wants for Bitcoin, these are not new comments, right? But they're kind of being shared more recently, like they are, and the volume of the sharing has gone up. So again, people are really excited for him to get into office. But all of those things have been known by the market now for quite some time. So the market is expecting and anticipating he's going to deliver on all of those. And, that is, I think it's unlikely that he's going to immediately deliver on those. I think he'll probably pay them some kind of lip service in the first week or two. But absent adding anything new, I think the market's going to come around to the idea that, the speed of the returns on the promise is not going to be immediate and might be dissatisfied by that or become somewhat bored in certain positions, around that. So what I think can happen is you're never going to you can't bet on trying to sell the top, right? So my feeling is I'm going to be taking and started to take off some more exposure to positions using futures, right? So I'm starting to short against a stack. And I think, though, that Bitcoin can still go up after the inauguration. I'm anticipating that there might be that kind of pop upward after, where people, let's say right after the inauguration, prices haven't really done much. They continue to drift higher. Maybe we, attack through all-time highs again, tag something like 110. There seems to be a lot of interest around 110. And then people feel validated, sort of have this aha moment where it's like, see, you sold the inauguration. Everyone who did risk into it was wrong. And you get people crowding back into positions. And then that is, maybe the next, the intermediate term top for, a couple months. That's just my view on the current, what we're currently looking at, based on sentiment, based on positioning, and obviously the activities over the last 24 hours. I think one of the most important things to take from this, and again, because I don't want to be negative, This is just like I said this is N of one. We've never had this happen or something like this happen, right? So it's really tough it's really tough to even it's tough to have any kind of framework for this, because this seems like, I don't know, it seems like an idiocracy 2.0, right? I mean, the sitting president of the United States will have his own meme coin. It's the weirdest thing to say. And I think it's weirder because, and it's kind of why I'm like at a loss for words, because like 2 years ago, it was the complete opposite situation, even a year ago, right? I mean, getting attacked on all fronts. So their guardrails are down. I think that after we have this cooling off period, again, because there's just a ton of excitement in the market right now, I think then you're going to see like absolute debauchery and sort of a mania-like period. And I think that you want to focus on opportunities that arise like this, honestly, because I don't think that there is. Sorry, didn't make an outline for this one, so that's why I'm probably having a lot of gaps within my thoughts. I don't think that there is that this is going to be the last one, right? I think we could expect a lot more to come from Trump and his friends, and it ties into my point that I tweeted about your edge being one of your edges in this market is literally just that you're here and you're familiar with the market, and that you have capital on browser wallets, and you're ready to deploy, and you have you know how to use Dex Screener, and you know how to spot wallets and wallet movements, and like retail is completely in the weeds compared to you, a person who has been in CT and been at the bleeding edge and as close to the source of information as you possibly can get, besides the people obviously in the very inner circle. So your edge is literally that you're here and you're familiar with this place over everyone else outside this market, because I definitely think this will pull in. Again, it's like, is it good publicity? Is it bad publicity? Well, the saying is that bad publicity is good publicity, right? I think this is going to pull a lot of people into the market, but specifically into things, again, that Trump sort of waves his hand at, right? This is like Solana was, as I said, basically chosen by the king at this point. ETH seems cooked, right? Before this, ETH was on its way to making new lows. But you have people like, what's his name? David Sachs, the crypto czar, who was big on Solana. I forgot what he said at the crypto ball or whatever it was that was last night. People there weren't able to even participate in this. But you have him at the helm, right? And he is a massive fan of Solana. This was on Solana. So, I mean, that it tells you a lot right there. So I think your eyes have to be pointed, obviously, at the direction of what's taking place on Solana. I think that whichever direction Trump moves in the near term, so the price of Trump, Solana's probably going to follow that. So I don't know if that's going to rip up and become something that's a $100 billion asset. Would not be surprised at all. Or if that's due for a 50% shakeout across the board in the coming days. No idea. Would not be shocked if it was either one equally. Solana probably follows that in the short term, but after some kind of washout, let's say that wallet sells more, I think you just have to look to Solana, and this had to boost your confidence in Solana. I'm talking to myself, honestly, because I'm talking to myself and everyone else, but I was someone who's thinking much closer for an all-time high. Like if you followed on Sync Quote Spaces over the last couple of weeks, really back and forth on Solana. And I was talking about people with their $1,000 targets, and that I would think maybe 300-400 seemed reasonable, but I think obviously when you add new information, you have to adjust, and this is definitely something that is worthy of adjustment. A thing about, and I'm sorry I'm just going off long-winded, a thing about my point about your edge being that you are on CT and familiar with it, the thing about that is that you can be late, right? So 4 hours or 3 hours after this was listed, okay, and posted on Twitter or X, where everyone has access to Trump accounts. Everyone, Trump has, what's Trump's following, right? Trump is followed by 97 million people. So this tweet was seen, right, by 55 million interactions. You get the idea, right? This is the people reading Trump's tweets there's more people outside of crypto than within crypto reading Trump's tweets, right? So there's a lot of crossover outside of this market. I don't even need to say that, right? The guy's Donald Trump. So regardless, if you were hours late to that, right? Let's say you were 4 hours late, right? So you're 4 hours late, you could still have gotten a double on this, right? If you were a couple hours late, you had a 3x or 4x. The point is, you don't have to have crazy. If you do, kudos and better to you. If you have all the infra set up to be, extremely fast news trader, but this market is really inefficient still, and especially when you consider the gap or the slowness that exists between people that are seeing that and have no understanding of this market. They don't have their rails set up. They're not ready to deploy it on the drop of a dime. So again, your edge is that you're here, and this is proof that in a market like this, that again is still very small compared to equities, compared to commodities, compared to everything else. You can be early, even if you can be early in this market, and that earliness would be considered extremely late in traditional markets. So I think that's really, that's a really important point to drive home. So is this a beginning of the end? I think long term this is not good. I think that everything mean reverts, and this is going to be a massive pendulum swing. I definitely wouldn't want to say that, that this is I wouldn't want to be an account that is saying that this is the high of the crypto market. Like you could just say that this is the top for BTC, the top for, alts, what have you. I think there's a lot of alts that have even yet to hit the market that are going to be, main names over the summer into the end of the year. I'm sure they'll all in some way be related to Trump, his family, his friends. So yeah, this is something in the short term that brings a lot of people in, and I think it does represent sort of this climactic blow off. Long term, I think it's never good to have a ton of crime and a lack of regulation and to just have an anything goes kind of environment. I think there's repercussions for that. I think it ends up leaving the market with some kind of stain on it, or it's not a guarantee, but the fucking carpet is laid out for that, obviously, for bad things to happen. But I think the one thing that I would want to drill home the most is that it's abundantly clear that there's going to be a lot of opportunity between now and then. And you have to remind yourself, of the quote, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? I think the people that are probably pissed off the most are the people that are diehard, believe in the pure crypto ethos and, are here for more than capitalistic reasons. I think a majority of the people here are here because they're speculators and they want to actually, they don't care about earning more meme coins. They care about eventually earning more, to add more to their bank account outside of crypto. This doesn't change my view on BTC at all. I think obviously Bitcoin rules the market. Bitcoin is just in a completely different category. I think if anything, this will make people, I think Evan posted something like this. This will just convert more people into Bitcoin maxis ultimately. So that is like a long. I'm going to take a look at prices now. That was kind of a long-winded, all over the place, just rant or riff. But midterm, I think you have to be really bullish on anything that comes out of Trump's camp. It's a reminder that scams pump the hardest. Short term, I would say within plus or minus a week or two, the market is going to be going through a cooling off period, because this feels very much like the culmination and climax before, again, a temporary top. Very exciting. Everyone feels like it could only go up from here. You have to imagine that is dragging everybody into the market. Just look at the long side of Trump, right? If you look at, again, let's look at what funding is on Femex. Now funding right now is 110 basis points. It was 100 basis points when we started. So this thing is trending down, right? And yet people are buying the shit out of it. So yeah, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to touch on with regard to that. Temporary top, probably pretty soon. Who knows? Like the whole idea now of this could be, so remember DeFi summer? Who knows? Maybe this is Trump summer, right? Maybe this is crime summer coming up, where you know how every year for the last 5 years, basically, I've said sell May and go away. And I've always said, just as a reminder, I've always said that in air quotes, and it means you sell around the end of March and April. I think it's entirely possible that occurs, right? Where, and reminder, this is about total one, right? This is not about, I'm not saying that Bitcoin can't poke up above all-time highs. I'm talking about, it's more along the lines of, I don't think Bitcoin would trend over the summer. It's a matter of, like, again, where equities are as well. But I think another thing to touch on, which I forgot to mention this, is there will probably be a lot more dispersion now. And because of this, it feels like the gloves are off. Again, there was DeFi summer, and this is probably going to be Trump summer. So, I mean, you could take the summer off, but I would assume that it being that it's the first year of his presidency, I don't know. I wouldn't want to bury my head in the sand this year. The guy he's going to be offering a ton of trades if off of just headlines alone, right? If anyone remembers COVID, he was like shouting out pharmaceutical companies, right? Shouting out pharmaceutical companies. And we know that he's just been extremely vocal about crypto to this point. He'll probably be really vocal about any crypto he's involved in. And again, I would just make sure that you have access to all the routes that information can travel through, because there's going to be a lot of great trading opportunities from just Trump's rhetoric alone. And who knows what it means for the long term, for those assets, for this market. But in the next, I would say from 6 months to a year, there should be incredible opportunities on the table. Incredible life-changing opportunities on the table. And unfortunately, it's because as the people's impression right now, I think, is more important of it than the truth. People are saying crime is back on the menu, crime is back on the table. I don't think that that's true at all. I think that people are really making a mistake thinking that, forgetting that for Trump's close friends that's probably true, but for people that are just creating tokens out of thin air, I think they're probably going to be running into trouble at some point. But needless to say, again, going back to the idea that scams pump the hardest, you as a speculator speculating on these things or the outcome of them have no connection to that, right? If you're just buying these things on exchanges that get created out of thin air, there's not many ways that you can go wrong, right? If you're just participating in that sense. So, I mean, this is just absolutely insane. As far as prices go, there are a few things to note. It seems like there has been a pickup in selling. Obviously, We tapped the 80K handle. So not 80K handle, excuse me. We tapped the 80s again. As I said right after that, I'm bullish above 90, but as soon as we get back to range highs, I think it makes sense to be more defensive again. My impression is that we could break through this, make a new all-time high from a print standpoint, but I don't think we trend in the near future. And again, I think it's really, you have to have some kind of wild outcome in mind to be long through the inauguration, and to not, I think, give the market a little bit of wiggle room to maybe shake out some positioning that's been stale and been long, anticipating that he, starts the SBR from day one, which I think is unlikely. So we're approaching high time frame resistance. I think that's pretty clear. I think it looks like from a flow standpoint that people are happy to sell spot up here. We're starting to see Coinbase trade at more of a discount again. This has been pretty consistent now. I think that it's been obvious in the past when we've had this kind of liquidity advertised and we've had a flip in book pressure, that it hasn't been worth, fading that when people are advertising their sell orders in the order book, there's significant size. Whereas in the past, maybe people have thought like, okay, that's, clearly they have no intention of selling. Over the last year or so, it's been the case that they, yes, have had the intention of selling, and that those large areas of orders stacked have been the major turning points. So we've turned before or right at them. So they have intention of selling, they do sell, and they've been able to overwhelm, the supply has been able to overwhelm any demand at those levels. So that's right around 110. So to me, things are setting up for what could be, maybe a further spike right into inauguration, right after, and then what looks like possibly maybe a longer range to develop, or maybe a deeper pullback. If he comes out and the SBR is created right away, then that's not something that I think that the market is truly pricing in. I think more likely is that he comes out and he mentions it, and he makes some kind of like half-assed promises, and then the market kind of picks up on how it's not coming as fast as they anticipate, and we do see more of that sell pressure hit the market. ETH is definitely, I mean, today across the board, everybody is suffering because of this. Anyone who, I should say, not everybody, anyone who is heavily positioned in alts, just going down the list of, a lot of these have bounced decently now, but I don't have to go down the list. I mean, you can just look at the margin. That's AI, memes, DeFi. I was long Athena, looked good, but I've since cut this. Unfortunately, had a nice amount of it go against me. I had orders stacked down to 91, but I didn't want to really see what we have right here, which is, it looks like we're accepting back below this range. So the criteria to this setup, which looked great, was that we have this kind of under over, and we are starting to treat that as support, and this kind of thing usually pokes up like that. Same thing that Lido did earlier in the week. And instead, now we're trading back underneath that structure. So Lido was much briefer, right? Much briefer. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. Reclaim and then moved quickly and closed that, or traded through that gap. But everything has gotten an ass kicking from Trump's token, which is now still trading. So funding is going up to around 150 basis points now. So 1.5% per interval of funding you'll get paid if you're short. So let's say you're short $100,000, you get paid $1,500 to be short per interval. Now, this is going to change, so that's if this remains static. But if you had a bunch of spot and you're looking to offload this and you deposit it on the exchange, and you want to sort of hedge that price around that price, because there's going to be a disparity between the spot and the futures price, and there might be obviously more basis risk with this than something that's liquid and established. But needless to say, you could get delta neutral and get paid that funding as well to carry that. Yeah, I think that, so I'm just a little bit uncertain of everything right now because of this curveball. So Athena looked great, and then it looks like shit, honestly. Where'd it go? Hold on. Doesn't look like shit high time frame. I mean, just locally. For it to trade back underneath that structure, I'd rather see this putting in some kind of support back above here. So that $1 level seems like a good level. So if we're able to trade back above that, treat that as support, then I think you get that ripper through this, low volume region. Thoughts on Jupiter? I mean, anything Solana related probably benefits. So you could see, for example, Jito, Jupiter, meme coins, Bonk. Whiff is red though. It's tough to say right now because let's say that more tokens are to come out over the next couple weeks. We have no framework for them or model for them right now. They come out from Trump's camp. I say camp, like whoever is involved. I think that they'll continue to gain most of the attention for good reason. So it's tough to ascertain what is going to benefit when this cooling off period happens, because we don't know if there's going to be a cooling off period for Trump's tokens. Right? This is the first one. So I think a lot of people right now are thinking, okay, so there's a lot of, money that's going to come in. There's a lot of wealth created from this Trump token, and it's going to find its way back into the alts now, right? And, the best alts are the ones that just got hammered. Whereas that's if there's not another token that's released in a week or a month, right? Couple days. The point is, it's pretty uncertain. And what I think you can be certain about is, now that everyone has seen this playbook, that people will jam into that one much faster. And you'll see the same effect across the market. I mean, this is kind of starting to look like the prior structures, right? Getting a lot of people excited at the highs, into a major event. It seems like an area where you could have something like this, right? And then chop around, and then we're ranging even longer. And then maybe this changes everything, right? Maybe we are ranging into the summer, and then instead of having a pullback, instead of having a deep pullback, maybe we're offered another, period like last year, where you get multiple lows, retests of these lows before setting up again into the end of the year. I think you just want to treat this range with respect, though. I don't know if we range to Q4. I mean, that's kind of a long ways away to, because I mean, all of this range occurred with the Biden administration. So I think saying that we're going to range again for, almost another year into the end of the year with Trump at the head. Like, I think that's just that's really expecting nothing on his end. I do think we have positioning to work out that's been buying in anticipation, but I think overall the market should be higher sooner, right, than end of Q4. Or you said till Q4. Yeah, I would. Okay, so sorry, I read that wrong. I mean, something like this wouldn't surprise me, right? Let's say we pop up and we're ranging within here. I could see us even moving lower. Don't take this drawing seriously. And then grinding up again. Midsummer? I don't know. It's a tough call right now. There's no reason why we still can't trade into the 80s either, so. But I think the thing that I'm most firm on is that I think plus or minus a week or two, we're looking at a market-wide top. So looking at total 3. I don't think this, the whole market is going to be trending up in the near future after this. I think you'll have a ton of dispersion, some great opportunities, but this to me feels kind of like a climax. And then you just have to keep your eyes and ears on Trump, because if he's able to do this with the first one, I think that, again, this is going to become more popular, more prevalent. But anyway, yeah, I'm probably going to wrap it up. I just want to get on here, and XRP seems like a good long. Hold on one second. I don't know. XRP swept the highs, right? I don't know if this seems like a good long to me. Now that a bunch of attention was taken from it, a bunch of attention was taken from everything. I mean, I guess, from a contextual risk reward, if you're looking at this structure as the first breakout of a, month and a half long consolidation flag, at least you could say, all right, this is my level. That $3 level right around there, 290 something. But it looks like there's a good amount of profit taking into XRP right now. Maybe this pushes a little higher up, but I could see this. If everything else is going to go through a little bit of a cooling, then if everything else is going to get momentum sucked out of it, then I think this is going to too. It's unless Trump comes out and says, any crypto in the United States is going to have no taxes, there's be no taxes, and XRP is a beneficiary, and things are a bit more idiosyncratic then. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to hop off. My daughter's starting to wake up. Just wanted to get some thoughts on here. I'll make sure there's a summary. There'll be a summary with less ums and uhs and gaps in my thoughts, because I just wanted to hop on here and decided last minute I would do the stream again, and that meant I was pretty unprepared, but felt like I should get out and put my thoughts out into the internet. Yeah, I will be back full time in the Telegram as of this week. So over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I had potty training my daughter and then just had a little bit of a break. Spent some time shitposting on Twitter, and it took about a week to realize how much I hate Twitter again. And I'll get back to posting mainly on, or rather in the Telegram. So until next time, hope everyone has a fantastic evening.